Hello, welcome to Tiny Little Victories, a podcast about everything and nothing and the banality and absurdity of life. Yes, that is a thing. Anyway, today's first episode is going to be about nothing. So we are going to see if this brand new episode works. We're recording right now, and this episode is called Nothing. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be about something because a couple of years ago, I did two podcasts, one in London called Massive Talk with a bunch of Brits, and another one I did out west of Boise, Idaho called Culture Junkies, which was very cool. But we used a different technology. So I am going totally mobile now using a Rode mobile microphone, a lapel microphone, and using Anchor by Spotify, go Spotify. And we're going to start here. We're going to start about, can Jennifer do a podcast by herself instead of having a team of people? Yes, I think I can. So, episode 1, nothing. It's very obvious that I got this lapel mic working and I am using Anchor by Spotify, go Spotify. And I heard a little crackling before, but I just think that makes it real. And I remember when we did the Massive Talk podcast, of which I'm going to try to blend into this podcast, you will see that while we were podcasting in Shoreditch in London, which, it's crazy over there were all these ambulances going by right outside like the warehouse where we were working. Yeah, that's where they put people over there, warehouses, because it's very cool when you're a creative agency to work in a really shitty place with brick that makes things very, very cold and ambulances are going by. And so we're recording, and because the Brits are so proper and nice and they don't want to interrupt everybody, we're trying to talk with a big microphone in the middle of the room and trying to carry on this conversation. And these guys were sort of like smiling at me with these very big smiles, like, we can't really hear you, but we want to keep talking. And finally, just one guy says, do you think there's like a problem outside? Is someone being arrested or shot? And at that moment in time, we did hear a gunshot, which is kind of weird for London because they don't really have guns. And everyone was like scattered in the room. It wasn't a gunshot. It was a firecracker, which is also weird if you think about it. It wasn't even Guy Fawkes Day. So if you hear a little crackling on the microphone, I think it's probably okay because 1, there's no gunshots. 2, there's no ambulances going by. And this is a Rode microphone, so it's supposed to be very, very good. And crackling sort of probably makes it feel real or gritty. I mean, does it feel real or gritty to you? I don't know. This episode is supposed to be about nothing, but it's rapidly becoming about something, which is kind of what I thought might happen. We would just end up talking about nothing and then end up talking about something, because really, isn't something nothing? Oh my God, we need a super existential person to come talk on this next episode, which is really a great idea. So since this is the first episode, and can you guys believe I actually have notes here? Like, this is like scripted. So this is a podcast about nothing that I've kind of scripted. It might be pure genius, or it's probably mostly pure madness, which reminds me, speaking of madness, yesterday I was speaking to a lovely Frenchman who's a good friend of mine, who is married to a lovely French woman who is a badass banker, and they live in Switzerland now, and he has a million different jobs. He moves back and forth between telecommunications and literally working for some people in Saudi Arabia that are trying to make a browser that nobody can hack. So I'm not sure what's going on there. Did I say too much? I might have said too much. Anyway, he's quite lovely. And he had this project, and he said he was telling his boss that he has this project and he couldn't think of anyone that could work on it for him. And he was thinking about a London agency, but then he thought, no, I know, I'll call Jennifer. That's me. So he calls me up to tell me what this project is. I'm like, whoa, that's really dark and a little bit deep, but yeah, I can do it. And I said, well, how did you get the CEO to sign off on me? And he said, oh, I went and told him, I know this girl. She's completely mad as a hatter, and she'll do everything under the table, fast as possible. It'll be brilliant. Bob's your uncle. We're done. And, that had to be the best compliment I've been given in maybe 6 months. Mad as a hatter. I really took that to heart, and I felt like this guy really sees me and he knows me. So yes, I am probably mad as a hatter, which I think that makes me interesting, or basically just mad. Which also brings me to the other point about part of the description of this podcast, which is that I'm going to artfully reduce things down for you. Doesn't sound like it now, but I definitely am going to do that. And that was another comment that someone had given me about the kind of person that I was, but they actually meant it as an insult. So instead of taking it as an insult, I found that being called a reductionist was really a compliment. So I've decided to adopt it that I'm an artful reductionist, because I can do that artfully. And, I think today sometimes we tend to think about ourselves in the world where that nobody hears our voice, right? We're just talking and talking and nobody hears us, which is probably true. But on the other hand, I think that social media has really created this platform where people just don't stop talking, where you're getting in fights with people, you're arguing about something, you don't like chicken lo mein. It just becomes this very big, like, somersault of talking. And I'm thinking that part of the value of tiny little victories is that I really want to reduce some of these topics that are just considered very, trivia or banality of life, ordering a pizza, or all the things that happen to us in every day, which is life. Like, if you have a spectacular moment where you run into Brad Pitt, end up having a coffee with him, that's part of life, but that's not something that happens every day. Every day is the stuff we experience. Every day there's traffic. Every day you might step in a poop on the street because someone didn't pick it up. Every day you might have to think about why your partner doesn't put the toilet lid seat down, or just every little tiny thing. And I think that maybe those tiny little things are also part of the victory that we have when we're living our lives, right? Because life is just a little series of tiny little victories, and it could be anything. Actually, I had a blow up a couple of days ago with a real bully, like a real live bully. And I kind of lost my temper, and I was like, stop bullying me. And you're such a bully. And ended up ending the conversation. And I, at first, felt so much shame for losing my temper like that. And then I thought about it. I thought, no, that's such a victory, a tiny little victory, because it allowed me to be able to step back, like, yeah, totally getting bullied, and other people are getting bullied, and no more bullying. So I think sometimes we think that wins are huge and big, and they have to be, I've got the best job, or I have the best dog, which I do. Gigi, who's sleeping on the sofa next to me. But I think that it's the small things, the little things that add up, that bring a smile to your face. And it may not feel like you've had a victory, but every little success, even a setback, can be a success. And that's why I really wanted to create this podcast, to be able to talk about this with people, friends, people that I've worked with around the world. And I think that you're really going to, well, I hope you do, you really love the conversations that we're going to have that will be artfully reduced, but also maybe just touch on some of the things that you're all experiencing right now in the world. So we're going to take a break right now, and we're going to come back with a little surprise that I have for you. And so stay tuned.
This is Massive Talk, coming to you from London, England. Sexy.
Yeah, that is not the intro to Tiny Little Victories. That was the Massive Talk intro done in Shoreditch about 7 years ago. And that was my surprise. Maybe it's not such a great surprise, but I think podcasts have changed a lot. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I feel like maybe 7 years ago, there was a little more like drama in the beginning. I do like that intro, though. It definitely makes an entrance. It was created by an Australian, Nick Darkin, who I don't know where he is now, so we don't care. But one of the things I wanted to talk about in this episode of Nothing is talk to you about some of the people that are going to be coming on in the next 6 weeks. And I have lined up a really great list of amazing humans. I'm overusing that word, I know. The first person is a Dutchman by the name of Philip Horjic, who I met many years ago when I was living in Amsterdam, and he had a startup that was complete rubbish, like totally no way it was going to work. And he was very open to criticism at the time, but we became friends, and he always had this great dream to move to New York. And so he did move to New York, and he started a real estate company, and he's just making it happen over there in New York City. He's a very, very interesting person. Perseverance, I guess, would be his middle name. So he's going to be interesting to talk to us about what's happening in New York right now with the real estate market and how he used some of his past experience with failure as a startup to be a success in New York City. Another person that we're going to be talking to is a Finnish woman by the name of Hanna Manneman. And she is a woman that I met also many years ago while working in Europe. And she has quit her job in doing a lot of like very remote PR and marketing type things and decided to open an art gallery. And she has really pulled together, during COVID, by the way, created this art gallery, real physical space where it brings together artists and poets and photographers. And she's really reviving an area in Oulu in Finland. And we're going to talk to her about what it takes to create something from nothing and all the things she went through, the fear, the self-doubt, and also the success. And this girl can throw a party, let me tell you. So it doesn't help that she knows how to throw a party when she opens her art galleries. I also have a very funny person who lives in Boise, Idaho, with someone that worked on one of my second podcasts with me, Andrea Catula, who's also now a comedian. And she has some very, very funny points of view. So she's going to come on and join us and give them some of her comedy. And then to round it out, I have two very special guests. My goodness, I'm looking at this. There's a lot of Dutch people on this list. The first person is an entrepreneur that I worked with many years ago in Amsterdam. Has many startups in the music business, but he's really done something different now. He has created a startup that's about circularity, that's about renting things instead of buying things and sharing things with your community. His name is Martin Cho, and I'm very excited about bringing him on. He has some very, very big views about everything. He will not be talking about nothing. And one of the last people on the list is someone from Israel who I've spent a lot of time with over the years. And she had been in marketing and communications for many years. And now she's a flight attendant for El Al. And man, does that girl have some stories. So we are going to have a chat with her about what that's like and what it's like flying in the air now and the kinds of things she experiences. But the next person is someone that I've met very recently, and she lives in the UK. She works for Formula One. Ooh la la. And she's a business analyst, but man, this girl. And we are going to really talk about attention and opinions, which I think people feel like they're entitled to all the time. Maybe they want them for attention, but really going to take a little deep dive here on what the world is doing when it comes to opinions and attention and how this is creating sort of a bubble around how we live our lives and maybe how we exclude people from our lives. So I think it's going to be a great lineup. And I think I'm going to end this first episode because you probably had enough. So I will just say, see you next week on Tiny Little Victories.